water, H2O, agua, whatever you want to call it, we all need it. In fact, our bodies are made of it. Half the planet, if not more, is covered in it. It is the sustenance of life, water. And on today's episode, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to talk about lead in drinking water. We'll go over some facts, some questions, statistics, and what have you, and things that you can do to make sure that your water that you're drinking from your faucet is safe. Hello, everybody. This is Karlos Reyes, community health worker in childhood lead poison prevention. And I'm back to talk about lead in drinking water on this episode. Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode here on the Lead Poison Awareness Podcast. Once again, I am Karlos Reyes, your host. I'm a community health worker in the Childhood Lead Poison Prevention Program and proud of it. And here we are back talking about, I am back talking about water. And why water? Well, let me remind you that nearly 97% of the world's water is salty or otherwise undrinkable, right? Another 2% is locked in ice caps and glaciers. That leaves just 1% for all of humanity's needs, which includes agricultural, residential, manufacturing, community, and personal needs. Don't forget that 75% of the human brain is water, and 75% of a living tree is water, all right? And a person can live about a month without water, but only about a week, without food, but only about a week without water. And some of these facts come from our friends over at EPA.gov, where you can find so much more information about this and just kind of get involved with making sure that we're protecting our natural resources and what have you, and also get involved with educating yourself in the effects of lead in water and also other harmful chemicals. Hey, listen, why not talk about water? It's one thing that we all have in common, right? It's like really good music. It knows no boundary. Well, guess what? We all need water, but we need to make sure that our water is safe. So if you don't already have a water filter in your home, I certainly implore you to get one, whether it's a Brita water filter. I'm sure there are many great brands out there. I know for me, I'm an Amazon lover. No, not getting paid to promote them, but I order everything off of Amazon. So I'm sure you can find many great water filter systems or what have you, like the Brita water filters, which are really great, and it helps keep our water clean and safe. So don't forget, I am reporting live from Massachusetts, and let's get right into it. Well, listen, why are we talking about this, and how does it correlate, obviously, with lead poisoning? Well, it's simple. How does lead get in my drinking water? And it's an easy answer because in Massachusetts, most drinking water sources like reservoirs and groundwater are lead-free. But when lead is present in water, it is typically due to the water flowing through lead pipes or plumbing in homes with lead parts or solder. Now, a lot of the homes in Massachusetts are old. Our Massachusetts lead law states that any home that was built before 1978, that it needs to, and it has a child, living age 6 and under living there, it must be de-leaded, up to code, up to standard, what have you. So a lot in Massachusetts, we have a lot of Victorian homes, a lot of old homes, and a lot of these foundations and homes and windows and doors and what have you haven't been updated. And sometimes even in the updating process, it is possible to contaminate the air or the dust with lead or what have you, especially during lead abatement. But right now, let's go back to water and focus on water. Service lines, which are the pipes that connect to your home to the water main, could also have lead in them. Inside your home, you may have lead pipes, copper pipes connected with lead solder, or brass faucets or fittings containing lead. And lead levels are highest when the water has been sitting in lead pipes for several hours. Hot water causes lead to enter water faster. I want to repeat that again. Hot water causes lead to enter water faster. So I always tell all of the families that I work with, make sure that first thing in the morning, you are running your water on cold, at least for a good minute. Let it flush out all of that dust, lead, solder, whatever's left over in the pipes overnight. Let it all flush out on cold water. You want to run it for about a good minute. If you want to play it safe, a good minute and minute and a half, whatever, that's at your discretion, whatever you feel most comfortable with. All right. So in many cases, most exposure to lead is from paint dust, paint chips, and soil contaminated with lead. But also remember that lead can get into your body by drinking or cooking with water containing lead. And young kids, as we know, lead absorbs easily in their bodies versus adults. And also, don't forget that lead can be passed, as we mentioned before, from a mom to her child, to her unborn child. And so for these reasons, we keep this podcast going. We want to keep sharing information. It is accessible. And I know I state that I'm based out of the state of Massachusetts, but this information is universal, okay? And it can be, accessed through this or online through many other websites. But here we go. Let's keep this going. Lead is not absorbed through the skin. Lead is not absorbed through the skin. Bathing or showering in water containing lead should be safe. All right. Listen, so let's get right into it. Again, as a reminder, if you don't already have a filter system like a Brita water pitcher, you can always get them online or at your local stores. Many people nowadays drink bottled water, or they might have, a water refrigeration kind of system going on, like the Poland Spring tanks, the ones that you see at the doctor's offices and what have you, like those water jugs. But for many other people who don't, they drink straight from the tap. So it's very important, like I said, to always let your water run as soon as you turn on the faucet first thing in the morning on cold. And you can always get water test kits as well that are available out in stores, and you can test the water. Now, I just want to mention, for anyone living in Massachusetts, you can look at the drinking water test results for 2021, and this was published in June of 2022. And this information can be accessed on Massachusetts Water Resources Authority. So that's MWRA online. And you can pull up the results. You can pull up all of the consumer confidence reports that are available in the state of Massachusetts, whether you're in Arlington, Boston, Chicopee, Framingham, Marlborough, Lexington, and so on. You can access the water reports, and I was looking at a few of them throughout the states, and the good news is that they met the requirements. So there was nothing to be worried about, so to speak. But it's always still good to test on your own, because you just never know. You never know. All right, so let's go back to some information here. And our friends over at mass.gov have made information accessible to everyone. So you can go to mass.gov and you can find some of this information that I'm reading on. And don't forget that some exposure quick facts: infants, young children, and pregnant women are especially vulnerable to the harmful effects of lead exposure. Most lead exposure results from lead paint dust and chips, but most public water sources are lead-free in Massachusetts. Okay, so what to do when you come across this situation? You want to talk to your child's doctor about testing your child for lead and lead exposures. You also want to learn if your home has had lead paint or lead plumbing done before. Some landlords should be providing you with a lead-free certificate. If you are renting and you have a child that is 6 and under, that is something that you can request, is a lead-free certificate. So lead can affect your organs, including harming your brain, your kidneys, and your nervous system. The developing brains of infants and young children are at greater risk. And so an exposure to lead that would have little effect on an adult, but that can have a huge effect on a child. And it's always important to reduce lead exposures as much as we can, okay? Use cold water. Do not use hot water for baby formula. I want to repeat that one more time. Use cold water. Do not use hot water for baby formula, okay? Very important fact. So always use cold water for drinking and cooking. Do not use hot water for cooking or baby formula. And again, letting that water run usually reduces lead levels by flushing out the water that has been sitting in those pipes overnight. Remember, More hours pass, the more contaminated that the pipes could be from dust, solder, you have it. Test your drinking water. If you have lead in your service line or in pipes inside of your home and you're not really too sure what to do, consider testing your water. And hey, testing typically costs us between $20 to $40. You might find something a little bit cheaper, but it can be done by a certified laboratory. Water samples may be mailed or dropped off, and be sure to follow the lab's sample collection instructions. Okay, and so when you do that, you always want to make sure that you write, did I collect the water from the kitchen sink or the bathroom sink? What time of day? Typically, we request that you do that first thing in the morning. That first little bit of water, you want to let your water run and collect that first sample. Let it keep running and then collect that next sample. All right, and you have 2 containers usually that you can put it in, one for each sample. And typically that gets mailed out to the laboratory and results come in quick. Usually when I'm working with my clients and my families, because I am a community health worker, I have accessibility to the labs and what have you. And the great thing about it is that if you provide your email, they can usually email you the report back and you can have a copy. So turnaround is usually within the week, which is pretty good. And also, the EPA action level for lead in drinking water on the level regulators look for water to not exceed 15 ppb, okay, or also reported as 15 pg/L. Listen, the goal, however, is to have the lowest possible level of lead in your drinking water. All right. So definitely. And hey, here's the other thing. I get it. I drink bottled water. I love my bottled water. I think I'm a one-trick pony when it comes to that. But also, if you really think about it, then on the environmental side, we're throwing more plastics out into the world. Unless you're recycling, then that's a great thing. If you're recycling, keep it going. I know this might be a little off topic, but it's all connected to the big picture, isn't it? But, if we can get a water filter for our water system, our sink, that's great. Think about how much plastic you're saving. So that's just another angle of looking at it. Again, I get it. We love our bottled water, don't we? But if we can save the planet a little bit and reduce on all the plastic that we're putting out into the planet, why not? If you can afford the filter, get it. Brita has incredible water pitchers and also the water filtration systems that you can connect to your sink as well. So just a little food for thought. I know it's a little outside the topic, but whatever we can do to save the planet, I'm all for, in my opinion. So most children are poisoned from lead paint, as we mentioned earlier. But water can also be an issue, and as we mentioned before in previous episodes, even in soil. But let's keep the focus here back on water. If you own your home, it is advised that you consider replacing any leaded water pipes, service lines, or fixtures, especially if there are children or women who are present within the household. So you contact your local water department about service line replacements and financial incentive and assistance programs that might be available to you. Don't forget that if you're a resident in Massachusetts, there is free money out there for lead abatement and so forth, home repairments and what have you. And you can always check out the Springfield HUD program for more information. And then just on a statewide level, there's also Get the Lead Out program and other resources out there. And speaking of other resources, some additional resources are the Childhood Lead Poisoning Prevention Program, Drinking Water Health and Safety, Certified Laboratories, the NSF International, or nsf.org. Or you can read upon lead in drinking water on mass.gov. There are many resources out there, or maybe you can just tune in and refer this episode as well to any friends and family that you might have. So consider using a filter to reduce the level of lead in your drinking water. Remember, not all filters will reduce lead, and filters can be expensive, requiring regular maintenance to remain effective. But I think it's definitely a great investment. And then what else can we do to protect our family? Test your home for lead. Most children, as I keep mentioning, are poisoned from lead paint and dust, but hire a lead inspector to test your home if you find out there are lead hazards. Usually on my end, from the community health worker, how we get our referrals is from the doctor's office. So when a child tests positive for lead, regardless of what the source may have been of exposure, that comes automatically onto my lab, so to speak. It comes into our database, and that's how we get our referrals usually. So we reach out to families. I reach out to families immediately and try to set up a home visit where we determine together, where did the exposure come from? Hey, sometimes it's from water, not all the time. The beautiful thing in Massachusetts, I haven't really had a huge, at least on my end, I work more so in Western Massachusetts. I'd like to be specific. But water hasn't been a big concern, thankfully, or a concern at all with my cases, without revealing too much. But, it's definitely something that we need to keep to the forefront. We think about Flint, Michigan, and what happened many years ago. We think about other areas in the world that are impoverished or don't have access to clean water. And sometimes we take our clean water for granted. And it's just those little things that kind of remind you, like, wow, we kind of have it. We're a little bit lucky over here. Information is accessible. It's out there online, or continue to tune into this podcast for tidbits of information and knowledge, because knowledge is power, and we want to protect our families, our young ones, and our pregnant mothers. We want to protect ourselves from any chemicals or any lead in drinking water. Now, for more information, you can check out the Massachusetts Department of Public Health, the Bureau of Environmental Health. There are tons of facts and statistics and what have you, very similar to what I have just verbally communicated to you, our audience in Massachusetts and across the world. Hey, a big thank you to our audience listening in Tennessee. I also do see that people from Canada are listening and across Massachusetts as well, and Pennsylvania. So we thank you. And again, like I mentioned, this information, even though I'm recording from Massachusetts, and a lot of the information that we talk about on this podcast applies to Massachusetts residents, but some of this is just common knowledge and general and universal knowledge that should be shared with everyone. So that's it for lead in drinking water. I'm going to end this off with everybody, please continue to take care of yourselves. Be safe, be kind to one another, take care of your bodies, take care of your health, your mind, and don't forget, please make sure that your water that you're drinking is safe. If you have any more questions, you can always go to mass.gov or check out the Childhood Lead Poison Prevention Program online. Again, my name is Karlos Reyes, community health worker and lead poison prevention, and it's my pleasure to share this information with you. Have a wonderful day, everybody. Be safe.